Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you join us for our AI and Technology Conference. Our next live presentation is from Vinanz Limited. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slide, and you can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome our next presenter, Ishui Rattray, Chief Operating Officer of Vinanz Limited, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol VINZF and on the LSE under the symbol BTC. Welcome back, Huey.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having us. So hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today I'll be presenting Vinanz. We're a Bitcoin company listed on the London Stock Exchange and trading, as John said, on the OTC in the US. Vinanz is a pure Bitcoin company listed on the London Stock Exchange main board. We have operations in USA and Canada. Bitcoin is a global currency. With the US now formalizing as a kind of Bitcoin reserve, we believe Bitcoin is rapidly becoming a globally recognized strategic asset. And we're trying to position ourselves accordingly to take advantage of that. A little introduction about us and our mission is basically to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible through decentralized mining and strategic purchases. We want to leverage our public listing to give investors clean and secure exposure to the asset. Our kind of growth strategy is that, we built a structure similar to MicroStrategy, but without the debt element that they have. We have active Bitcoin mining operations as a kind of cash generating engine alongside that. Now, the interesting thing that we have is, what I would refer to as the UK advantage. So in the UK, and I know many people listening won't be that familiar with this, but we don't really have a lot of vehicles to access exposure to Bitcoin on the equity markets. Alongside that, it's really difficult to get an account with the Bitcoin exchange. It's really difficult to, to trade the asset, in its original form. We don't have a MicroStrategy. We don't have ETFs on the London Stock Exchange or anything like that. So for UK investors, Vinanz offers a uniquely kind of local and regulated solution and a great complement or alternative to MicroStrategy. Like in London, there's hundreds of millions of long-only equity money. And right now, they have no place to invest that to get exposure to Bitcoin. So we are kind of endeavoring over the next few years to be the place that money can come. On that point, if you look at Metaplanet, recently in Japan, they adopted this Bitcoin strategy and, the stock went kind of crazy. There was some kind of viral videos that came from their recent general meeting. They had, I don't know how many thousand people queuing outside the door, and they had this great uplift in the stock when they announced this. And, similarly in the US, GameStop recently announced their Bitcoin treasury strategy and, the stock bounced 20%. I think probably a lot of people listening are familiar with the kind of effect that has and this kind of snowball effect that's happening throughout the public markets. Our main message is we are the only ones in London doing this, and we are the only ones, who might, potentially grow into something that has a very good tracking rate to the price of Bitcoin. Key information, about our recent achievements. In 2 years, we were originally listed on the Aquis Stock Exchange, which is a very junior stock exchange in London. From there, we scaled our miner account across North America, and we went onto the OTC, and then we went on to the LSE at the beginning of this year. We've got this great ticker on the London Stock Exchange, which is BTC. And then you've got a couple of metrics about shares outstanding and market cap right there. One sec. The mining infrastructure that we have, we're live in multiple US states and Canada with top tier miners, and we keep operating costs under $65,000 per Bitcoin for production, and we're continuously upgrading that. We have regular site inspections. We're quite hands-on. our teams regularly in Nebraska to ensure everything's run smoothly and the uptime of the machinery is good. A kind of treasury strategy that we're shifting to or kind of migrating towards is we want to aim to hold 80% of our assets in Bitcoin. So we want to kind of have an 80-20 split between Bitcoin mining and just owning Bitcoin as an asset. And we want to try and increase our market exposure during market dips and use mining as a kind of cost-effective accumulation tool alongside that. This is a kind of financial modeling slide. That shows kind of a 10 million deployment in Nebraska offers us profitable Bitcoin production well below the market rate, even in conservative market conditions. Year 3 strategy in this, well, throughout 2025, we're kind of focused on growing our treasury aggressively, optimizing mining and locking in long-term value via smart acquisitions. So, we're looking for kind of roll-up plays, possibly with hosting providers, mining chip manufacturers or anything like that. Like we're kind of in the market to kind of build out and build smart. Our model is scalable, risk diversified, and currently debt-free, although we're not kind of ruling out debt as a means to kind of acquire more Bitcoin in the future. We're aimed at building long-term shareholder value and being lean and very Bitcoin heavy. So, we really want to be a company, well, we really are a company that have a bullish outlook for Bitcoin. And, I think we want our investors to understand that and be on the same page as us there. And, for me personally, I've been in the crypto market for a long time and I've done a lot of different things within crypto. And, I find myself in the past couple of years coming back and focusing on just Bitcoin as the premier asset class within, or the premier cryptocurrency within the space, and probably ultimately the one with the most potential as it's shown over the past few years. This is our team. So we have David, our chairman, Jeremy, our director, me, the CEO, and Mahesh, the NED. And we're going to kind of be scaling that up over the next few months. And we have a couple of other, well, we have 3 or 4 other people, who work with the mining operation part and help alongside things in London too. To contact us, scan the QR code for our website. Twitter's below. Give us a follow for updates, and you can chat with me or David or anyone else on Twitter, and we can answer your questions. So yeah, thank you very much for being here. And thank you for listening to the presentation. We're a kind of new age Bitcoin bot miner built for exponential growth. So I think I just go straight into the questions that I've got on the right. So how do you finance your Bitcoin purchases? So currently, we've been financing them through buying miners and mining Bitcoin, and also raising equity and buying Bitcoin. Another question: what competitive advantages do you bring to Bitcoin mining? I think that's a great question, and it's very competitive amongst the US markets, and there's miners operating at a huge scale, Marathon and Riot and things like that. And I think it's difficult to stand out amongst some of those much bigger players. We're very competitive in terms of the electricity costs that we pay, but we really want to be a very authentic, kind of small scale mining company in America, but we want to predominantly use money that we raise to purchase Bitcoin, through a kind of 80-20 split. One more question: isn't Bitcoin mining becoming less profitable after the halving? How does Vinanz plan to stay competitive? So that's a valid concern. Like the halving did raise the bar a lot. We kind of anticipated that, it was expected. Our mining operations focus on kind of low cost power regions like Nebraska. And, we just use the best in class machinery like the S21 Pros. Our break even is very competitive, so we remain profitable even, I think, in a bear market. And kind of like I was going through in the presentation, mining is just one pillar of what we're going to do. Our treasury strategy lets us accumulate Bitcoin at kind of opportune times without always relying on the market exposure. So I think, just to summarize everything, because there's no more questions, like you've really got to understand the point that we are the only option in London right now. And, we are dual listed on the OTC, but you've got to understand that we're listed in London. There's no other company in London that gives you really good, authentic Bitcoin exposure or access like a Bitcoin beta. So we, are kind of marketing ourselves around London, around the long-only equity funds in London, and, sometimes in Europe that can only invest on the London Stock Exchange. And, we're kind of explaining to them that we're the only place that you can really get good exposure to Bitcoin and the Bitcoin price. Cool. Oh, I think we have one more. How should one view an investment in Vinanz as a leveraged bet on Bitcoin? Yeah, that's kind of a good way to look at it and a good way to understand it. That as well as the whole London, UK kind of angle that I was just explaining. And I think that's it. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for coming and for listening. I really appreciate your questions. I think, yeah, you can reach out to any of us through the website if you have any more questions or have any more, yeah, anything else to say. But really appreciate your time. Thank you.